Welcome to the party. I'm not here right now, but I want you to listen very carefully. Enough talk. It's showtime.
Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve, my co-host is Pete.
Hello.
This episode we have another guest co-host. He is the co-host of Geek Syndicate. It's Barry Nugent.
I just want some chips, man. I just want some chips. Turn it over, man. It's burning. Turn it over, man. It's burning. I just want some chips.
Yes, for those who have no idea what Barry he's not having some kind of seizure. We are, in fact, talking about the 1986 film The Golden Child, which was Barry's choice, and that was a key line from the plot, I'd like to say. It was vital. It was a character-building moment, I think.
It was, and it changed my life.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Why did you choose this film?
Why did I choose this film?
Yeah.
In all seriousness, it actually did change my life. This film actually did change my life.
Wow, okay.
Because reason being, so I'm now going to get all political and all racial, but I don't mean it like that. But bear with me, people. For me, The Golden Child was the first film that I remembered watching where you had a black lead character who was in a completely unreal setting, because it was basically a kind of Indiana Jonesy type film. And it just, as a kid, or I was sort of a teenager, I just sort of left school. It kind of blew my mind from that perspective, regardless of the humor and all the rest of it. Just the fact that it was a black actor who I really, really liked. I loved Beverly Hills Cop and all that, and 48 Hours, even though I shouldn't really have saw them at that age. It was one of my favorite actors in one of my favorite genres, even before I knew what genres were. And obviously anyone knows me knows I love that kind of pulp adventure type thing, which was what a lot of The Golden Child was. And seeing Eddie Murphy in it, cracking jokes and stuff, something clicked in me. So many, many years later, obviously I always talk about Fallen Heroes, is the book I wrote, and blah, 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 blah. But I wrote a book before Fallen Heroes, which was called Paladin. And effectively, Paladin was pretty much my tribute to The Golden Child. And I don't often tell people this, but Dave knows this. Effectively, this came out of a conversation that Dave and I had, again, many years ago, which would be, how would we react to certain situations? Which is what I loved about Golden Child, because Golden Child, effectively, it was kind of like a normal guy and how he would react to being in an incredible situation. And that was the whole premise that I kind of nicked for the book that I wrote, Paladin. So, and again, it was and it was the first book I actually wrote where the main protagonist was black, which people might find weird, given the fact I'm a black writer, a writer who is black. But before that, all my lead characters were white. And someone had asked me this once, and I said the reason being that growing up and the sort of stuff that I read and I watched, that was all I knew. And to a certain extent, Golden Child was one of those films that sort of flipped that switch for me and showed me that I could do that. So yeah, for a film that's incredibly like silly and funny and whatever, actually had quite a profound effect to me. So that was why I picked it. And obviously the fact that he jumps over and pulls a gun out in the barbecue and says, just want some chips. That is just like, it's just so many money lines in this film. It
is. But so we talk about this a lot. We have a sweet spot of years for films. And looking back at what else was coming out in 1986, there were some amazing films, from things like Aliens to the original Transformers to Top Gun to Platoon, and to another film which I think has a lot of similarities in some ways, is Big Trouble in Little China.
And to the same cast.
Mm-hmm.
From the same year as well, I believe.
Yeah. So, go on.
Did you know, which you probably did because you might have looked at the same trivia I did, that, and I didn't know this until today, so thank you guys for inviting me on, because a lot of this shit I didn't know.
Right.
That originally John Carpenter was set up to do The Golden Child.
I didn't know that, but it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, he was kind of like the original kind of choice or whatever for it, and then I don't know what happened, but he ended up not doing it. And then obviously he then did Big Trouble in Little China, which is there's a lot of similarities between those two films.
Yeah, it's got that weird element in addition to a regular guy caught in a very strange situation. It's got the really ridiculous, over-the-top stuff. It's got the kind of Harryhausen animation.
It does. It's also got it's the female character that actually does most of the things that save the day as well.
True.
Which is similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Pete, what are your early memories of the Golden Child? Had you seen it before?
I had seen it once, but a long time ago. I think I saw it with my cousin, and we used to just spend weekends getting up very ridiculously early in the morning and then spending the whole day watching films, usually Bud Spencer and Terence Hill films, but occasionally something else. We need to do some of those one of these days. Yeah. Or Fat Guy, Little Guy, as we called them at the time, because we didn't know their names. Can we put a Fat Guy, Little Guy film on? Yeah, of course. Anyway, so around that same... me too. So around the same time, we would have seen this, but I didn't remember much about it. In my head, it was mostly set in Tibet, and then watching it, my favourite bits are probably in Tibet, but they're not. They're not in Tibet as long as they thought they were.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's just age.
Well, yes, absolutely.
And I originally, because it's a PG, because it's one of the rare films we've done as a PG, I was going to watch it with my family. And then I remember now that PG films of the 80s are not like the PG films of now. It's happened a few times. You've put things on Netflix and stuff from the late 80s, and you go, oh, really? You know, the Chunky Arses magazine, you know. that was the point. I thought, you know what? Really? I think I'll watch this on my own.
I love that.
Although I would probably have been about a similar age, but that's not the point. It's not the point.
I still think, I mean, Raise the Lost Ark. I mean, that's a PG.
True.
That's especially with the melting faces. It's like how.
Last 10 minutes. That's a PG. That's what you got to say to yourself. This is a PG.
Yeah.
You know, faces melting, heads exploding. I mean, you know.
The first time I saw The Golden Child, I would have been a bit younger. And I remember that Sardo Numsi, when he transformed, scared the shit out of me back then.
It did me.
I was just like, what the fuck? And it really freaked me out. Now watching it, I go, oh yeah, it's kind of cute.
Well, but the trouble is now, as soon as you say his name, I've got Eddie Murphy saying his name in a very different way.
Well, that's what I
Numsi.
You're Sardo Numsi, as he said.
But I was absolutely obsessed with Eddie Murphy when I was a kid.
Really?
Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places, 48 Hours.
Yep.
I watched Raw and Delirious when I was far too young. I can't do it anymore, but I used to do the laugh. That was my school thing. I would do the Eddie Murphy laugh.
Right.
Yeah, I can't do it anymore.
We all knew someone that did the laugh.
True.
Sadly, it was me. And it was the first ever, it wasn't an autobiography. It was just someone had written a book about his life, but the first ever biography I ever read was Eddie Murphy's when I was about 11.
That's too young.
Yeah.
Way too young.
It is too young.
Yeah. It's too young.
Yeah. You got some things maybe I shouldn't have found out about, but you know. But yeah, so.
Got to learn sometime.
It's true. It's true. Thank you, Eddie.
So, do you want to talk about some of the action, given that we are on Bags of Action?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad that's cleared up. Excellent. So, I'll start then. So, my favourite fight scene is probably the one when he goes into the house with all the bikers.
Yeah.
And he goes to try and take them all out, and then Ki Nang, as she's called, played by Charlotte Lewis, just comes in and kicks the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Yes. It does, again, another 80s thing in a PG film. It does have a very gratuitous, wet T-shirt kind of moment in amongst the fight. But yes, you're right, it is a very good fight.
It's literally as gratuitous as you can get, really.
It's true. It's true. They may as well just walked people in with hoses.
Yeah, I mean, it's like kick a bloke through a wall and apparently there's a water pipe which apparently is just going to strike you in exactly that spot. Which obviously as a teenager, I could have cared less about the reasoning behind it. But as an adult, I was like, really? But yeah, I thought it was a great scene because actually she kicked a bit of arse, and Eddie came in and kicked a bit of arse. So it kind of put them on a level pegging, and the humour and action worked really well in Golden Child, which I loved, because there's a whole scene before that where he's kind of saying to her, "You stay in the car, I'm going to go in, you stay in the car."
This is man stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, anything happens, you drive away, and then she comes in, does all of, and what I love about that scene is she does all of this stuff, and the first thing he says to her is like, "What did I tell you? I told you to stay in the car. Man, shit happened here. I don't want you to get hurt. You just stay in the car." And as the longer it goes on, the more he kind of gets overshadowed by her skill set, and the more he realizes that he's quite out of his depth, which is what I like about it.
Yeah. but he does hold his own a bit. Like once he gets free, he does take out a couple of guys.
Yeah.
But she really takes them apart. Like she punches one guy in the balls, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, oh, when we watch that, I just can, even now.
And doesn't she kicks the door on one guy and then jumps on the door, and the door breaks in half over the dude's back. I'm like, wow, you're not walking away from that one, are you, dude?
No, I've heard of people, massaging, walking up and down your back, but that's taking it to the next level. That's just, breaking it across your back. Oh, painful stuff. So, do you want to talk about some of the cast?
Yes. So Charles Dance.
Yeah.
From Game of Thrones and Last Action Hero and lots of other things in between.
3 and...
It's quite similar to his Last Action Hero role in a way. This is kind of a beard twirliness.
You say that. I've got to call umbrage and disagree.
Okay.
Go on.
Because he was all right in Last Action Hero, but I'm sorry. This is a proper villain, right? This is a proper villain. This is a dude who goes through Tibet, right? Everyone else is all covered up and stuff. He's got a leather jacket draped over his shoulders. That's how badass he is. I don't care what anyone says. That opening sequence, and you've got all of them riding into that monastery and stuff. And then they come in and they kind of kill everyone. He's just walking through. He's got his jacket over his shoulders, get the child. And they just walk out. And then he kind of stands there looking back, and then he walks out. I just remember thinking, that is a guy you don't want to muck about with. He's got a cravat as well. I mean, come on.
That just spells villain. Cravat.
It's
villain.
Just villain. Proper.
You mentioned the start then as well. There's a thing that I'd completely forgotten and kind of spun me out watching it again. Was the whole introduction. That no one says a word for quite a long time. It's quite a long, almost like a long music video. These long kind of big shots and stuff, and then the bit you just said happens, and then it cuts to America, and it's the quickest cut thing I think I've ever seen. And I think it's deliberately to make a contrast between the stillness of Tibet and like America's just like people with short attention spans. But it's just, I thought, please don't be like this all the way through. I'm going to have some sort of seizure. But it was, it's like car, sign. It's really clever.
It's quite jarring. The two, you're right, because it's almost like a whistle-stop tour through America via Eddie Murphy, and it's really, like you say, it is quite jarring and really funny in a lot of ways as well. Like you said, we have the whole kind of like the butt pie, and which is just awesome. But like, I'm not saying butt pie is awesome, by the way, just concept. But even the little bit where he's kind of he mucks about with the boxer guy and then he punches him too hard and he's just fuck, It's a great opening.
And it just shows you the chaos of America compared to you saying about the stillness. But it's like it's an urban jungle with everything that's going on. And he is this very ordinary guy who's trying to help kids, but he knows his way around because he's got a gun, he can take care of himself. He comes across as a very kind and caring guy, but he's obviously grown up the hard way, or he's had some hard lessons because he's able to kind of, fight back against it. So it's his turf, and he's such a fish out of water once they go to Tibet.
Yeah, and I think as well, he's clearly got a kind of, because what I quite like, there's a lot of unspoken stuff in there, because it's like he has a relationship with the police, because it's a bit where the girl gets killed and he's able to wander around the crime scene, and there's a bit where the cop sort of says to him, "Oh, did you get my referral?" And he's like, "Nah." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you take the kids' cases, don't you, Chan?" And obviously I know this film word by word, but so there's he obviously works with the police as well. There's other stuff that he does, and so it's it sounds a bit of a stretch to say it almost feels a bit noirish. So that is a little bit. It's like 80s noirish, if that's the way to look at it. Because a lot of it, there's a lot of like legwork, I guess, a lot of detective work for the two of them to find, because they've got to find the girl, and then they find who the girl's been sold to, and they find that connection, and then that connection dries up, and they've got to do another connection. So it's not that easy a case, which is what I quite like as well.
Yeah, it's right, because he goes from one tattoo place to the next looking for the yellow dragon that they found on the girl once they've found her. And I also like the fact that once she kind of starts telling him stuff, he just looks at her like, you're cute, I'll play along, but clearly you're mad. You've clearly got a screw loose.
The Eddie Murphy-ness is great, and I don't know how much was ad-libbed, but some of the best things feel like they might have been. And it's just like, that is a big joint.
That squirrel looks like a giant joint.
You could roll it up and smoke it. You might get drunk by some Rastafarians.
And it's a thing I think that he's one of the few actors who can do, because he's so charming, is he can take a joke and take it past where it would usually stop being funny, and it's still funny, because he still finds it funny.
And I think as well is that the humor is quite realistic, and this is what I mean about it. It gave me the idea of doing a character who would just react to things in a way that pretty much anyone would. It's just that guy happens to be quite funny in the way he reacts. But it's like the bit, there's so many funny scenes. As I said, the barbecue scene is probably my standout favourite scene. But my next one is when he goes to see a dragon lady, and I think it might be the second time, and I think they sort of say to him, "Oh, you must go to Tibet and you must get the anti-dagger and we will exchange it for the child." And he was like, "This chosen one thing, it's too far." I'm not saying no, I'm just saying it's too far now, all right? You all need to go talk about it, because the chosen one thing, too far. And and other people could watch that and not get a laugh from it, but it cracks me up because I know mates that was how they would react to those situations. Like, come on, you're having a laugh, aren't you?
Yeah, and I like the way that he says, "You go and talk about it," and he walks over and talks to the woman behind the screen, and he's going, "Yo, your silhouette is smoking. Maybe we could go out and get a drink." And it's just like he's blatantly just chatting her up. It's just like, I don't care what she is, but she looks interesting. Oh man, yeah, his charm really comes through all the time.
Now, a question for the two of you. So obviously we've all watched this again recently. Obviously this came out in the 80s, very different time. Now we are where we are. How do you think it stands up now? Do you think it feels very, very dated when you watched it?
In some ways it does, in some ways it doesn't. The music is definitely very 80s. That's for sure. And there are some elements, but it's not as kind of, although we talked about the wet t-shirt scene, compared to a lot of the other films we've watched from around this time, it's not as misogynistic. Like you say, it's a black lead actor, but the fact he's black isn't really a thing.
Yeah.
No, which is another thing I liked about it.
Which I'd forgotten, and I assumed, because most films you watch, regardless of whoever's the highest black character in the cast, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And in this film, he's just the guy. He's the chosen one. So it's actually it's more progressive than a lot of modern films in some ways. But there are things about it. There are some of the effect stuff and things, and some of the just craziness that is a bit dated. But no, I think it holds up pretty well. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I had memories of when I last watched this. It's got to be 15 years or more, and there are certain key things that I remembered. But watching it again, I enjoyed it more than I was expecting. So I kept thinking, it's going to be it'll drag, and it's an hour and a half. But it kind of flew. So the special effects and everything, that dates, that's fine. That can always be updated and stuff. But overall, I think it held up fairly well. And this was one of my next things I was going to raise, which ties into this. I think they would never make this film today, this kind of a film. I know they're remaking things like Big Trouble in Little China, but if someone brought a script that was an updated version of this to someone today, I don't think they'd ever make it, because it's just too weird. I mean, it's got that weird element, that kind of slightly Carpenter feel, but not a lot. And unless it's like a big franchise or it was a really small independent thing, I don't think this would just be made because it's not big enough, if you know what I mean.
It's been interesting watching Highlander last month and this month because they're both quite random in lots of ways. There are lots of elements thrown in there, like the dancing Pepsi can, that you just feel some films just wouldn't have gone with. But some of the best things in the film are those creative risks.
I mean, also as well, when you talk about the humor, but in a lot of ways, it's quite a dark movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
dragon rape isn't in many of the films I watch.
No, this is true. But,
implied dragon rape, implied.
If you think in the first sort of opening 5 minutes, as much as I've said that, and he kind of establishes that he's the villain, they slaughter an entire temple of Tibetan monks.
Yep.
Now, okay, yes, if they did it now, you'd see the blood and da-da-da-da. But regardless of that, they slaughter a whole set of monks who they've already established in the beginning. They're there and they're kind of testing the golden child, and everyone's like, oh, this is the golden child. And then they just get wiped out, and there's a clear, darkness. He's a demon, he works for the devil. And that sequence, I think, still holds up pretty well, where he kind of puts the rug out and kind of talks to, I'm guessing, the devil.
Yeah.
That was Baron Greenback.
I was going to say, it reminded me of the villain from Inspector Gadget. It really did.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's the same voice. Where's Penny and Brain? Are they going to come into the shot?
But I remember seeing it as a kid and seeing that bit where he's just there meditating and the whole brickwork kind of falls away. And the more he talks, the more you see more of the world that he is in.
Yeah.
And there's a shot where it kind of pulls right back and it's all flames and shit and you can just about make him out. And I watched this today. And I thought that sequence, other than the bit where you first saw the bricks go away, I thought that still had, effects-wise, that still holds up pretty well.
I think.
I know what you mean, because it's stylized, which means it can work. It's not supposed to look 100%, which I think is the way a lot of films now try and look so photoreal. That's half the problem. But if you go for something like that, it's a stylized approach, then it's... Yeah, I agree with you.
One thing we're talking about aging and things, that some of the other films we've done from the 80s and things, there's things that you pick up immediately, like the computers and the mobile phones look ridiculous, but the only
everyone's smoking usually.
Yeah, that's the only thing in this film, really, because they're not relying on technology. They're just, as you're saying, Barry, going from leads from one to another, and nothing's really changed. They kind of, if you were a cop, you'd just go from one tattoo parlor to the next, or you might look them up online, perhaps, but really, it hasn't changed that much. The only thing that has changed is the smoking, that when he's on the plane to Tibet and other places, everybody's smoking. There's all that weird stuff with the food, but that's not, that's not dated. And you might have videos and screens in the back of the person in front of you in the chair on the plane. But apart from, little things like that, they don't rely on technology at all. It's all kind of people, intuition.
And hats.
Yes.
And hats.
Hats are key. He's got his main hat, he's got his winter hat, and then at the end, the golden child gets a hat.
It's true.
Yeah.
Hats are key.
And naked little old men who wipe snot on themselves. Okay, also
That's
key.
true.
You're just going to wipe that there, aren't you?
Just going to freeze. Just going to freeze.
Leave that
Scratch yourself on it.
But I mean, it's funny you talk about clothing, but I was desperate, and in fact, I did find a shirt. So the which again is one of my fave sequences, which is in Tibet, where he has to go and get the knife.
Yes.
Which, for me, that's where it was like full on.
Too.
And what I loved about that scene is this is like full on Indiana Jones for me, right? It's full on Indiana Jones. You've got Eddie Murphy, effectively, he's in the Indiana Jones movie, cracking jokes. And what I love about that sequence is, the shirt he was wearing, I was desperate for, and it took me 2 years to find a shirt similar to that, because I just love that whole collarless. But this isn't a fashion show, so I'm
it's not those kind of bags.
Yeah, but I think it was that part where he and we've seen this. What I love is we've seen this action sequence so many times in films. That kind of quest to get them the mythical item. You've got to go through stages and blah, 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 blah. And it's all and normally it's always deadpan. It's always done in a deadpan manner. And what I loved about this was it was a normal guy doing it. And there's a bit where he kind of just is there and he's going, this is bollocks. There's no flaw. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's a flaw in here. There's a flaw. Don't worry about it. And then you kind of flips the coin down. And what I like about it is that scene goes on just that little bit too long. Do you know what I mean? For you to then sort of go with him, shit, there really isn't a flaw.
Yeah, and it even says, how many people have done this before? He goes, none. Because if I get him, I'm going to whoop your ass. It's like,
I'm going to break your ass when I get out of here.
It's like,
no.
It's just I got the knife and I turn on the goddamn lights. It's the stuff like that. And it's the interplay with him and an arsewipe. I'm sure that's not his name.
No.
But it's for me, I enjoyed it watching it again. But the moment they got on the plane to go to Tibet, I think from then till the end, it's twice the film it is beforehand. It just elevates it massively. But I think he just gets to do more. It's not as constrained, and he gets to do more. He's just more Eddie Murphy in the second half of the film.
And there's one.
The bit of both the airports are hilarious.
Oh,
the bit with the bit before that, bit with the no legs is hilarious. The bit on the boat is hilarious, and the two bits of the airport are hilarious.
The no legs. What's that bit?
When he
he's trying to get money off the other guy takes 100 off him.
Oh yes,
and he lifts him up, and he's been there sitting there like pretending he's got no legs and stuff.
Right. You're breaking my heart ass wipe. Right, you speak English very well.
I'm going to come back there and row your ass.
Yeah.
He's still going on about it like 10 minutes later.
So
Go on, Pete.
No, I bought a copy of this on a used copy on Amazon for a penny on DVD to watch it. And then for some unknown reason, I don't know why, I'd been watching it. I put it back on. I didn't touch any of the controls. I put it back on at the bit where he's rowing the boat, and suddenly subtitles. So I had that whole arsewipe scene beautifully spelt out and on screen for me, which was good.
Well, so there's one thing I still don't understand. Well, it's probably more than one. But they all mispronounce his surname for some reason. Have you noticed?
I know. And there's even a bit when he's having the dream sequence where he says, you do know you mispronouncing my name. And he says, I know. And I keep thinking, and every time I watch that film, I keep thinking there's supposed to be some sort of hidden meaning that I'm missing.
Yeah. Like there's something in his name by mispronouncing it, or saying it the other way means something else, or they were going to explain it. I'd forgotten about that. And then when they kept mentioning it this time, I thought, why? Why do they call him Jarrell? And he said, no, it's Jarrell. But they never explain that. So I don't know if that was cut or if that was something that they were going to address and they just thought we'll get to it. Or it's an odd thing to do, though, isn't it? Not explain.
Well, speaking of things being cut, are you ready for some trivia?
Ooh, go on, hit us.
So, and all of this, as I said, because I was watching it on Amazon Prime, so the trivia thing sort of pops up and stuff. So first off, we were talking about music earlier. Did you originally the person who originally scored this was John Barry?
Oh,
right. Wow.
And if you go into YouTube and type John Barry Golden Child, you can still listen to some of his original scoring, which is completely different. Oh. Obviously, if you know John Barry's music and stuff, you kind of know his sort of style. It's quite epic-y, quite sort of dark and whatever.
Yeah.
Completely different to which is effectively 80s guitar. Completely different. But apparently he'd scored pretty much all the movie, and then they watched some of the rough cuts and they decided to go against it. And in fact, the only piece of music they kept in, I think, was at the start when it switches to America, and then there's a song where they're singing, "He's the best man in the world." That song sung better. That was done by John Barry. That was his arrangement.
Gosh, okay.
Interesting, right?
And second piece of trivia, originally this was supposed to be a much more serious affair. The original script was much more serious, and it was supposed to star Mel Gibson.
Oh.
Okay.
He turned it down. They reworked it for Eddie Murphy, who was supposed to be starring in Star Trek 4, which I had no idea.
Star Trek 4?
Yeah, you know the one with... I say Star Trek 4. We always say it's the one with the whales. That's the best.
Whales, yep.
So you know the sort of female scientist in it?
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be Eddie Murphy's role.
Interesting. Well, it's like, do I want a smaller role or do I want to be a lead in a film? And they're rewriting the film for me. Yeah.
Well, I've just seen that he was a producer of this as well, and his production company came in on it, as well as ILM, who were one of the co-producers and did the effects in their early incarnation.
That makes sense, actually, because that special effect with the demon at the end reminded me quite a lot of some of the stuff they did in Young Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
It was very Harryhausen for me, looking back at it now. I thought it looked a lot like the old stuff we got in Jason and the Argonauts with the skeletons and the Medusa and all that kind of things from Clash of the Titans. The good one, not the shit remakes. So ILM makes sense. But it's funny, of the cast, people like Victor Wong, as we said, who plays the old man in this and was obviously in Big Trouble. Yeah. He's in everything. Yeah. He's in everything. And Charles Dance, Eddie Murphy. But Charlotte Lewis, I don't really remember her from anything after this. She's got an IMDb page, but I don't think I've seen her in much.
She was voted one of the top, the 50 best bodies of the 90s, apparently. There you go. Not by me, but
Pete in his own little house. Right.
Let me just get my scroll with the list on it. Yeah, no, she wasn't in much, really.
No, I vaguely remember her doing a film called Pirates, which had Walter Matthau in it, which was pretty poor. That's it. That's all I got.
I think as well, she always kind of played some kind of ethnicity that wasn't quite her own.
Oh, really?
Because I'm trying to think where her parents are from. I'm not sure. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Apart from looking at her IMDb and stuff, it does tell you.
But her first ever role was in Grange Hill.
Grange Hill? Wow. I'm sad to say I actually did watch that. I'm not really sure why, to be honest. Probably because
you were a child and it was about school and you were at school?
Yeah, but it's like, well,
maybe?
why do you... Okay, so her parents, her mum's Irish English and her father was half Chilean, half Iraqi.
Yeah.
So she has a very interesting heritage. And so, as you say, she can play all sorts of things. It's like Arnold Vosloo and Oded Fair. Yeah, that'll do. Put him in. It's like, what? There's nothing like it. Nah, don't matter. No one will notice.
Yeah, that'll do.
So, go on.
Did you notice someone else is in this that was in a film in the one of our early episodes?
It's not Sven Lolly Thornton, is it? Because you always.
It's not him. It's not him. It's another of my favourites. Randall Tex Cobb. He's in Blind Fury, the guy with the cigar who goes looking for him in the cornfield.
Yeah.
He's one of the henchmen in this.
Oh, he's the big dumb one who helps out the golden child, isn't he?
And it's all very monkey magic, isn't it? Those guys.
It is, because one of them he says he's called Monkey. He says, "Get your monkey off my back," and the strange audience applauds in the dream sequence.
Oh, the dream sequence is bonkers.
It is. And then you've got the fat monk, and then you've got the big strong one. So it's like Monkey, Pigsy, and fat monk. So.
Water nymph. I don't think he's called. Is he called Fat Monk?
That's what he calls him. He says at one point. I'm sure he says you've got monkey, you've got Dumbo, big and Fat Monk or something.
I think you're right.
It's something like that.
Well, another couple of bits of trivia. One, which is a five degrees of separation from Chuck Norris, so he's in good company.
Okay.
So you know the bit where he's in the he gets captured by the bikers, and there's that guy. It's quite a funny scene where the guy is like coughing in his face. He's like, "I've got a whole thing of Tic Tacs.
Yes.
Right. That guy is called. He's a famous Hollywood stuntman, martial artist, and professional wrestler called Judo Gene LaBelle.
Nice.
And he's trained Chuck Norris and Ronda Rousey.
Wow,
Nice.
interesting.
With a name like that, you had to go into the industry.
You've got no choice, really, have you?
Judo Gene, hello. Table for two.
And what was my one? There was another one which was...
And he was in Batman and Robin.
Well, everyone has a low point. Come on.
The godfather of grappling.
God. Go on, Mike. What was the other bit of trivia?
Oh yeah, this one's a biggie. So, you know the actual Yanti dagger which he has to get? Mm-hmm. I'm going to put this question out to see if you get it. That dagger has been featured in another film.
Ooh.
Do you want a clue?
Yeah, go on.
The Shadow knows.
It's in Genghis Khan in the Shadow with Alec Baldwin's Shadow.
Yeah. Do you know that? Okay, I don't know how well you remember that film, but there's a whole battle over a dagger in it at the end, and it's the same dagger.
Wow, they stole the prop.
Yeah. Obviously, money's tight in those days.
Yeah, they're sharing props. Wow.
And I remember watching The Shadow and thinking, when I saw that dagger, thinking, I'm sure I've seen that somewhere before.
Doesn't it move in another film? Like
in The Shadow, it does.
When it's like its head moves and it turns or something.
Yeah, it comes alive.
That's right. That's right. Because I thought that was going to happen in this film. I thought, and it freaked me out. And I'm thinking, oh God, we've got the demon and we've got the knife that moves. It's like no. So I was thinking of The Shadow. Interesting.
So I've lost myself in the rabbit hole that is Judo Gene LaBelle's IMDb page. He's been in everything.
Yeah, is he another Sven?
He was in The Incredible Hulk. He was in Greatest American Hero, T.J. Hooker.
Fantastic.
Knight Rider, Fantasy Island. Mm-hmm. Every Which Way But Loose. The Fall Guy. He mostly plays referee, thug, or uncredited tough guy. But even so,
I like that uncredited tough guy.
He's drunken biker, uncredited in brackets in The Golden Child.
Yep.
Right.
Wow. He's done a lot.
He was in MacGyver, Rapid Fire, which we've done, Nowhere to Run, and he was a referee in Baywatch.
I take it you don't mean the new film.
No, the show. The old show. But he's still doing stuff. He was in a film last year called Enter the Fist and the Golden Fleece, which I'm hoping isn't the kind of film it sounds like. Let's just check. No, it's fine.
It's not an adult entertainment film.
No, Danny Trejo is in it.
Okay, then that'll be people with a cleaver getting chopped up then. Good old Danny. He does like to do that. And
Michael Dudikoff and Ron Jeremy. Maybe I was right in the first place.
Oh, no, Michael Dudikoff, he's American Ninja.
Yeah, he is. And Cynthia Rothrock.
Wow, that's really kind of old school, bringing out everybody from the past.
How are you talking?
Hang on, wasn't she going to be in a female version, version of...
They did one. Yeah, they did one. They did it, I think, but a low-budget one. They did I think. Let's have a look. Sorry, we've totally gone on a tangent. Yeah, like in the last couple of years. Hang on. Let's have a look. She's been in Bitch Fight.
No, that's not it.
That's one of her most recent films.
So I know they're doing an all-female version of Ocean's 11 with, like, his sister or something like that. But yeah, they said they're going to do a female version of The Expendables.
They're going to do, she's in the low-budget one with her, Zoe Bell, Christina Locken, Bridget Nielsen, called Mercenaries in 2014.
Oh, wow. God, it bypassed us completely then.
I think it went straight to the home.
Straight to DVD.
Yes.
Wow.
I think so. Anyway. So, yes, Cynthia Rothrock is very missing from our show.
Also, bringing it back to Golden
Good
Child.
man. Good man.
I have to have a look in my cellar to see if I've still got it. But so when I was a kid, I had two paths before me. One was to continue my writing. The other one was to continue with my art, because I used to love doing art. And my original plan was to go to art school and become a cartoonist and blah, 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 blah. That didn't happen. But back in those days, I used to do a lot of drawing. And like I said, Golden Child a bit affected me. So I've got a Golden Child's. So you know that, and I thought the poster. We talk about how shit posters are these days.
Yeah.
That poster for the Golden Child, I thought was brilliant.
Just with him with his hat and the sunrise.
Yeah, just him with his hat, and you've got on one side you've got New York, or you've got America. Other side you've got Tibet, and it's just got Eddie Murphy's The Chosen One. That's all the marketing you needed back then, because it was Eddie Murphy. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? But I've done that picture.
Oh, you drew it?
I drew it.
Ah.
So I'm gonna have to see if I can. And it wasn't too bad, if I don't say so myself. I have to see if I can dig it out. Scan it just so people can laugh at it and throw.
I was enough of an Eddie Murphy fan at this stage that I can't remember the name of the film was. The film with him and Dudley Moore, where he's driving a tank. But they never meet in the film at all.
Best Defense.
That's it. Best Defense.
That was awful.
It was awful. That was another weekend on my cousin film.
Wow, you properly scraped the barrel, Pete.
Well, to be fair,
Eddie Murphy and Dudley Moore. Come on, it could have been the great high point of all comedy.
Yeah, on paper, it should have been, as a pitch, should have been fantastic. Because Dudley Moore just come out of Arthur. It's like it's Dudley Moore and Eddie Murphy. What's not to like? But yeah, it was awful.
Wasn't good.
Man, harsh.
I don't think I've actually thought about that film since the minute I pressed stop until now.
With very good reason, by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Sounds
so whilst we're talking negativity, was there anything that didn't work for you second time? Well, second, third, fifth time round, 10th in my case, with the Golden Child? What didn't work?
I think him being the Golden Child, I never quite. I don't know. The fact they just kind of turned up and there he was. It just some of the things from. I know what you said before about the case being quite hard to solve, but the kind of way they kind of found him and off they went, felt a little bit straightforward or a bit convenient. But that's me looking for things to say, really.
How do you mean by that? As in how they found him?
I don't know. They just kind of. I don't know. Just kind of walked up. He was on TV. They walked up to him, and it just. I don't know. It didn't. It felt there was something missing. But I don't know what that was.
The Chosen One, you mean?
Yeah.
Was that the bad guys finding him, or the good, or Eddie finding him at the end?
No, I think her finding him at the start, really, because it happened so quickly. I don't know.
Oh, what her finding Eddie? You mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you see, now that I thought that made, because he was on TV, wasn't he? Which again, I quite like that scene.
Yeah,
and then it cuts to her, and she's got a load. Yeah, and she's got a load of scrolls. I.e., she's kind of, and I just took that as she was kind of studying to find the Chosen One. And he was on TV. And she's kind of it was almost like she already knew who he was.
Yeah.
She'd already done her homework, and he was the Chosen One, and the scrolls were just there to sort of go, I'm here studying. Yep, this is the guy type thing. So that's the impression that I got. Whether or not they needed to do more, I don't know. I thought some of this plot wise, some of the stuff around the actual the killing of the Golden Child and the whole kind of we want the dagger because if we give you the dagger then you can kill the child. But that bit
it did almost cancel itself out.
Yeah, because in my mind it was like we just don't keep the dagger then. We can't kill him, so.
They were trying to corrupt him, though, but also there's the fact that he's eating his plant to keep himself alive, to keep himself pure, but eventually that would have run out, and he would have had to have eaten some of the oatmeal, and then it would have corrupted him, and then they could have killed him. So it was probably
oatmeal
taking
was blood
too long. Yes, I think the reason they did the dagger thing was it was taking too long, and if they had the dagger, they could kill him at night. They didn't need to corrupt him, whereas. They knew that the Chosen One was suddenly after him, and Keenan was after him, and there were other powers moving against him. So that's probably why Sardo Numsi said to get the dagger. But
My brother has forgiven me.
My dear sweet brother Numsi. Key, Dr. Han. I must be punished. I must be purged. I don't deserve to walk amongst good, clean people. I must be flogged.
you're not joking about word for word, man.
He really does.
No.
Can you do the whole Viva Nepal scene? That would be great.
And you don't even know what you did, but you've got the same keen, the same glare in your eye. No, I could do most of it there.
You need to do a one-man show, which is just the whole of Golden Child. I will buy my ticket right now.
From start to finish, an hour and a half. Just rattle it off.
I'll happily stand next to you and hand you the different hats.
I genuinely cannot tell you how many times I've A, watched the film, and B, watched that sequence where he just gets over the wall and goes, I just want some chips. I just want some chips. I don't want no trouble. I just want some chips. Turn over, man. It's burning. Turn over, it's burning. And it's the fact that he turns it over. It's just brilliant.
Ugh. But I love the fact that they're just an ordinary family, and right next door to them is a murdering group of bikers killing people. It's like, but we're having a barbecue, so that's okay.
It's just getting a barbecue, and maybe as a little tip to them, maybe build their wall a little higher next time.
You don't want people just jumping in with guns.
Random dudes. And I think it's the fact that the dad stops barbecuing, looking at Eddie Murphy as he's walking along, trying to find a good place to climb over, and his dad's almost like, is he really gonna? Oh no, he is. He's just gonna climb into my garden. Okay, right. It's just.
Oh, yeah. Things that I'm trying to think of things that didn't work for me. Nothing really. There's a couple of story bits and the odd bit of CGI, but all this kind of stuff would be updated if they redid it in some ways. I think if they'd done a more serious version of this film. And with this different soundtrack, and they'd cut it differently, it would have lost some of the charm. Because if you're going to put Eddie Murphy in the main role, you may as well use his skills, which is he's funny, he's good at ad-libbing, he bounces off the other actors very well. So if they had put like Mel Gibson in, that would have been a very, very different kind of film. It's that whole thing of what if Tom Selleck had been Indy? What kind of film would that have been?
What if Gene Simmons had been Commando?
That would have been horrific.
That was who was cast originally. Was cast originally before Arnie. Yeah.
It would have been horrific. It would have gone nowhere and just tanked.
Kiss of death.
Yeah.
Wow.
An absolute raw deal, Pete.
Nice.
Thanks.
Nice.
Right. Okay. Are we ready to give this some scores?
Enough with the yak. What is your score?
I am. What are we scoring out of?
So it's 1 to 5 bags. No.
See, that means he definitely hasn't been on for a while.
I haven't been on for you. You're right. I'll put my hand up. I should be punished. I should be flogged. I don't deserve to walk amongst clean people.
1 to 5 bags. 5's been the maximum, and there are no half bags. This is it. It's all or nothing. So it's. We talked about this in the past. We've scored some films 3, and it's not a bad score. That's just saying compared to like a 5 film, a 5 is Judge Dredd. It's the first Keanu Reeves new one. What's it called, Pete?
John Wick.
Yes.
Yeah, Die Hard, Predator.
These are all 5 baggers. 4 is still pretty damn good. 3's it's good, and that's how we kind of work the scale. And we can't have 0, sadly. Otherwise, Pete would have given...
I would have given Olympus Has Fallen a 0, but I had to give it 1, a charitable 1.
I love Olympus.
Loathed it.
Do you? Have you seen White House Down?
Yes, it's no Olympus Has Fallen.
Man.
Pete's flipping the other way.
Totally the other way.
Is White House Down? Is that the one with Jamie
Foxx?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Olympus Has Fallen. I mean, take out... Oh, no, Olympus Has Fallen.
Okay, all right. Let's do some scores for this film.
I'm taking a bag off for that.
Barry, you go first.
You know what? I watched it today, and I'm going to give it 4 because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was really worried because I hadn't seen it in a number of years, and I was really worried that I was going to sit there thinking this is really aged. But I think you said it the best, Steve, in the fact that yes, the effects have aged.
Yeah.
but the actual heart of the film and the jokes and whatever, I still really got a kick out of it. It's got that Big Trouble in Little China vibe to it as well. So for me, it's not. But I think given some of the films you've mentioned in the same breath as a 5, I couldn't, in good conscience, put that in the same category. Couldn't do it. But I don't think I could put it down as a 3 because I think there's an extra bag, I think, for nostalgia for me and the personal thing. So 4.
Okay. Pete?
Okay.
You can't take a bag off because of the white.
No, I haven't. I'm not doing
Olympus
that.
controversy.
I'm not doing that. I don't hold grudges. Okay, I do.
What?
Yeah, I think I don't like it as much as Barry, but I think I need to have seen it a lot more times and be able to recite it to be able to like it that much. However, I think it held up really well. I struggled with it a little bit at the start. It took me a while to get it again. I think once it got to the dream sequence, I think I kind of got where we were going. And I say the second up from Tibet onwards in itself is probably worth an extra bag, and I would say it's a very solid 3 bags.
Okay.
For me.
I enjoyed it more than I was expecting. Apparently, I got some bits mixed up with the shadow, with the knife coming to life as one of the other bits.
You'll never watch the shadow in the same way now.
No, I won't. I'll have to go back and look for the dagger now. It does hold up. It does. It's in the same vein, as we said, as some of the kind of crazy films you got from John Carpenter in the 80s. It works. It works well. It is weird, and it wouldn't get made today, and it would be a lot tighter, and it'd either be really dark and horrific, or they'd turn it into a slapstick comedy. And because it kind of defies a natural genre, they just wouldn't go for it today. I can just see people going, nah, I'm not sure what it is, and is it this or is it that? So I liked it. I like the fact that it's quirky. I like the fact that it's different. It's good, but it's not an amazing film, not a great film, because we don't do half bags. I'm going to give it a solid 3. Yeah.
Yep.
A good 3, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's fair.
Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention again, Barry. It's been a long time since I've seen it, I've got to say.
Yeah, and thank you for letting me do it, because as I said, it was great fun to sit and watch it again. And now I bought it on Amazon. I can watch it again in another 10 years. If I don't get chosen for something.
Just keep watching it over and over again. Right, we're off to go and watch Bad Boys on a loop.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.
Night all.
You have been listening to Bags of Action. You'd better stick around for the next episode, because if you're lying, I'll be back.